Feel like I
Grateful.
need PJ in my life.
Yeah.
I need more positivity.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of practice, man.
Yeah, we had to
Lots of
kick Brad
practice.
out today because he's so negative.
Anti-negative zone here, man.
But positive for COVID.
So our guest is Paul Jenkins Jr. PJ,
That's it.
the man, and I've known PJ for probably like 15
I
years.
think so, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to meet each other through when I was doing some community development work at Forgotten Harvest,
That's
actually.
it. I was trying to
Yeah,
remember the name. I'm like,
yeah, and owned a local restaurant, and
Yeah.
we got connected, and we've gotten closer.
yeah.
Mutual friends that have connected us, and I've always been so uh astonished by your
Oh,
just
man.
your being
Yeah.
and like the balance. Like I don't think I've ever interacted with you when you haven't been happy and grateful and
Yeah.
positive, and like just the way that you view the world is, I think, a really healthy way to view the world. And if we all did it, we'd be in a better spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you've done a ton of stuff on the business side, serial entrepreneur, a lot of little restaurants and this and that. You're always doing a million things,
I
but
am.
the constant that I've always noticed is the love for your daughter.
Yes.
That's been in the forefront, and just that part of your life is really the priority.
Mhm.
And the people around you, your family, your friends, like I just, even though we're not super close, I've always just noticed that you do a really good job of prioritizing what actually matters.
Yeah, man.
And, like your mission says, fuck what they think,
That's it,
right?
man.
Like,
That's it. Keep it close to me,
yeah,
man.
it's that's what matters the most. So, guest today, super, super pumped to have you on. Just love this guy in a lot of different ways. So happy to have you on, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for the words, man. I appreciate that, man.
Feel
Super
like I
grateful.
need PJ in my life.
Yeah.
I need more positivity.
Yeah.
A lot of practice, man.
Yeah, we had to
Lots
kick
of
Brad
practice.
out today because he's so negative.
Anti-negative zone here,
And-
man.
but positive for COVID.
Right.
So
You can keep both of those.
Yeah, right?
no, it's so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I they talk about surrounding yourself with your five, or like
Mhm.
surrounding yourself with the people who you want to be like, and
That's right.
you want to learn from, and your vibe attracts your tribe and all that kind of stuff.
I
And
would like that one. Yeah.
having somebody that Peter's talking about that's so positive, I need more of that. So I'm glad you're here.
Right. I appreciate it, man. I certainly appreciate it. And again, I say I do have shitty moments, and I do have negative days and
Yeah.
insecure days, and just like anybody else. But I make it a strong point to practice. My analogy is always around sports.
Yeah.
So I study some of the best. And Kobe was my guy. So I just, I'm in this game of life now. It's not a
Yeah.
sporting event, it's a game of life. So I said, well, why don't I take the same characteristics, the same manual that these high level athletes take to make themselves great, and apply that to the game of life.
Mm.
And I just established a really good, solid daily routine. And it has nothing to do with business. It has nothing to do with, I'm going to stay up all night and build this business plan. It's always about just, mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time there. And the side effect from it is that I show up a better husband, a better father, a better business partner,
Mm.
and a better person to myself. That's the side effect of it. Does it get boring? Yes, I do it every single day. It's just like shooting free throws. Nobody likes to do it. but you want to be a great free throw shooter,
Yeah.
so you got to go in the gym by yourself and do those things so you can show up when it's game time. And so I kind of treat life like that, man. It's like when it's time to show up, it's those daily reminders and routines and things I say to myself and
Mm.
do on a daily basis that when the moments come, it's like a reflex at that point. I'm like, okay, now I kind of know how to combat this and face this challenge. And if I'm scared, I do it scared anyway. And I'm petrified when I'm doing it. And I'm always scared when I'm doing crazy shit, but I do it anyway. So
Yeah, that
it's been
discipline,
pretty
and
dope.
that's what it takes to build a habit, I think just no matter what, sticking to it. So what's the routine?
Oh my God. So it's, well, pre baby.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say that had to
Oh, yeah.
throw a wrench in
Pre-baby.
it
Hey,
a little bit.
congratulations.
Thank you,
A
thank you.
month, right? You
He is
almost a month?
5 weeks now,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, he's the joy of my life. My daughter's in town from school, so to get both my kids with me same time, it's been, an absolute joy. I grew up in a family where my pops, who was very present, throughout my entire life, still is, but he was just busy, he was working. So I didn't get a lot of quality time with him, and we could talk about that later in the show of how I got a chance to work with my dad. But I just made it a point that, when I get my kids and I want it to be all about family, I never one time in my entire 50 years of my life had a dinner with my folks.
Mm,
And my folks were in the house until I was 19.
mm.
So dad was in the living room watching TV, having dinner. Me and mom were really sometime at the kitchen table. So it was a surreal moment for me. Just recently, Christmas, it was just me, my wife, my daughter, my son having dinner, and for most, it's just that's easy, but for me, it just had never happened. So
Wow.
it's been the greatest 50-year birthday, Christmas ever in my life that I could have ever dreamt of, and, yeah, I'm kinda just still floating, man.
Yeah,
Still floating.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So how you have done a lot, right?
A
Like, you
lot.
have a 21-year-old
I
daughter,
do.
multiple
Yeah.
businesses. What through and I'm sure as you've matured, like, this
Mhm.
has evolved, it's always evolving, but
Yeah.
what was as you kinda navigated being a dad and doing the business stuff and trying to be close with friends,
Mhm.
how did you do that? Because part of this show and experience is just learning from others,
Yeah,
that have found
yeah,
some tricks and tips to making sense of all this.
yeah.
Things that stood out as like, man, that was a game changer. I always apply these principles.
Oh, man, I
Yeah.
mean, shit. So many. I mean, I think the lessons, the views of the highs and the breathtaking views of the highs and
Mm,
the heartbreaking views of the lows that I've had the pleasure of having both. I think those lows really help to make you take a step back. If you're lucky, you get a
mm,
chance to extract some of the lessons from those low moments. I don't run from those low moments, and like a weirdo, I kind of stay in those low moments a little bit longer than most would because I actually embrace the feeling and kind of try to understand myself a little bit more so I don't make the same mistakes. So I think a lot of my aha moments were during those low times of my life. I've lost my house before, I've lost my best friends before, I've filed bankruptcy before. I've done so many things that people from the outside looking in, they would be like, "Holy shit, I had no idea. I thought you had all your shit together."
yeah.
And I think I still did and do. You just go through those moments where you take some big risks and things just don't happen or fall into the pocket like you think they should or would. But you get back up and you've got this great lesson in front of you and say,
Mm,
okay, one foot in front of the other, and now I'm gonna move forward and make it better the next time. But I think that, for me, a lot of those aha moments were in solitude. Man, I spent a lot of time by myself and I say listening to the loudness, the quietness of the loudness. And those at those moments, it's like a lot of stuff speaks to me and a lot of kind of helping me navigate this thing of life happens in those particular moments during my morning routine.
yeah.
So it's journaling. I have a fear journal. I have a win journal. I got a gratitude journal. I write in my book every single day, just what I'm feeling for the moment. I send it out to my friends. I call it when the gift comes to me, I share it with my friends. I'll put you guys on it after we leave here, man.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's random. It's not scheduled. It's not mass produced. It's just me, 5 o'clock in the morning, dreaming up something and sending it out to my friends. And it's typically, very spiritual and mental.
Yeah.
But it's just those exercises that keep me like in this even kill space, man, of realizing that like I'm just kind of a deliverer. I'm not the man. I'm just the kind of guy who was appointed and I can go out here and share as much as possible. And when I really learned that gift of sharing and being appointed and accepted that gift, my life became different. For a long time, I rejected it because inspiring people came easy. So I was like, that's just, PJ, send me a quote, this is that. You're always happy. That's cool. It's easy for me. But I accepted it real just recently as like, oh shit, like this is a true gift that I have that I can inspire people. And I can't inspire if I'm not out here spreading my wings, doing things, jumping off the cliff, trying new things,
Mm.
failing, bumping my head, winning, losing. If I'm not doing all that, then who the fuck am I inspiring?
Yeah.
So I spend my life trying things and like, being infinitely curious.
Mm.
And it's pretty dope, man. Got some great wins and some even better losses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously you're not the first to talk about when growth moments happen. And typically it is in those moments where
Yeah.
it is like, whoa,
Oh yeah.
it's low. It's
Life be
low.
lifing,
Yeah.
man.
And just have that perspective of
Yeah.
like, all right, you know, what am I trying to learn from this?
Yeah.
What is the thing in yourself
Yeah.
that's like, I got to pay attention to this because why did that happen? I didn't think it was going to happen that way. We were talking about that last week. It's just, it seems so heavy in the
Yeah.
moment
Yeah. Yeah, it
and
does.
like in very isolating
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. But part of um, just the hope of this is like, we're all going through it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
lows are
Yeah,
very
right?
different for everyone, but it's a part of being a human
That's
and
right,
being on
yeah.
this planet. And if you can look at it with that perspective of like it's a growth moment, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which obviously you've done a lot of, which is super admirable. And I think, um, man, like 21 to 1 month old. What
Big gap, bro. Big 2 lives, man.
what
Talk
what
about lives.
what I know, what's
Do you remember? Did you remember how to change a diaper? Did you remember
I
how
was
to
pretty good.
swaddle?
I was pretty good,
yeah.
man. It
Yeah.
came back like riding a bike, man. Yeah. It was,
A
but,
lot more tools now, right? Like the
a lot more
swaddles, they
tools.
got Velcro and all
Right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more tools, a lot more patience in me.
Mm,
My daughter and I grew up together. So I was hustling and building businesses and trying to find myself during my 20s and 30s. So, and she was there with me. She was my ride, and I was a divorced dad. So it was, pick up the kid on Thursdays and we spend together and drop it off at mom's and go open a business and come back afterwards and get a couple of kisses and then let her stay with mom. It was a lot of that during my 20s and 30s.
yeah.
And now at 50, it's still just as busy, but a different kind of busy, way more intentional about what I'm doing, very, very much secure with the direction that I'm going in. So my moment of patience is heightened
Mm,
significantly. And at this age too, I guess when you're in your 20s and 30s, you don't necessarily, and this might sound dark, but you don't necessarily think about mortality, you know? But when you're 50, you do. Like,
mhm,
I hope I have just as many years in front of me as behind me, but in
yeah.
reality, just the way this world operates, I got less years in front of me than behind me. So during those crying times, my little guy's crying in the middle of the night, I could get mad and frustrated and lack of sleep and all that's there. But I also think about the big picture. It's like
Yeah.
I'm taking advantage of every freaking second that I get to spend with this guy, whether he's crying,
Mm,
shitting up a diaper, whatever he's doing, I'm taking advantage of it. So I think mentally, my mindset is very different as a dad at 50 versus a dad at 29.
yeah.
You know,
Oh, for sure,
yeah,
man.
Right.
We were just doing the dance last night. I was telling you earlier, like Parker was up
yeah,
at 3, and it was like, I got a full day tomorrow. I don't really want to go in there and deal with
right,
this. But then it's like this moment is gonna pass
yeah,
so quickly.
yes,
And the fact that you can go in there and she wants you to hold her and she wants you to be with her. And um, how do you live in that moment
yeah,
and not think about the disruption to your own life, but that you have the ability to connect with your
yeah,
kid
yeah,
and just reminding yourself of that over and over. I know Logan and I both have the mortality thing hit us a little quicker,
hmm,
lost dads
yeah,
when they were young.
yeah,
And so it's like, ooh, if we're following this pattern, like, am I going to see my kid graduate high
man,
school?
right, yeah,
So we're going through that. Whew, the things that for a lot of years you're like, I'll do it when I'm older.
yeah.
I'll do it when I'm older. It's like, no, I'm doing it
No,
now because I
man.
don't. I don't know if older is going to be
That's
there.
right. That's
Um,
very true.
yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So, what are you doing from a business perspective?
Man, it's been a ride, you
Yeah,
know. I don't know I've always been in hospitality, so it's been
yeah,
my love, my passion forever. As a teenager, I was the party promoter. All through high school, I was known as the party guy. College, same thing. I remember my freshman year at college, our assignment was to develop a business plan. It was a business course, and my my prep project was to have a party. So at the time, I went to Spring Arbor University at the time, and I probably had about 900 kids. It was a Christian college. And so I went with my business plan. I says, I've rented out the VFW down the street. I've got a DJ. I've got security. There's no booze. This is my business plan. And the guy looked at me and laughed, my teacher. He says, I'm not condoning for you to have a party for kids to go get in trouble. No, you have to come up with something else. I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, "I can't allow you to do this." I said, "It's a business. I'm making bread from it." I'm like, "What's the problem?" He says,
yeah,
"If you don't agree with me, take it up with the dean." So packed my shit, went to the dean's office. I was like, "Yo, this guy says I can't do this. This was the assignment. I fulfilled the assignment." He laughed at me. He says, "Listen, if you think I'm going to go against my faculty for you, get out of my office."
Is this the town in Footloose?
This it should be right. So if anyone knows me, they know that's ammunition for me. I'm like,
yeah,
oh really? Okay, great. So I go back home. I'm pissed off. My roommate's there. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, you said I can't do it. I'm gonna show him. So I did have to change my plan, did something I didn't want to do. But from that, from 18 years and for 14 years following that, I had one of the most successful party promoting, especially event companies in like definitely the state for sure.
yeah,
I want to say even the Midwest. And I did shows from Diddy. I did the first Making a Band tour. I did John Legend and Missy Elliott and Alicia Keys. And I had a 14-year run of dope events. And from that, it was like, okay, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna go to owning nightclubs. I'm still in my 20s now, so I'm like, I'm gonna own nightclubs.
yeah,
Kind of transitioned into nightclubs, owned a nightclub in Chicago, still in this hospitality game. It was great. Had zero substance, lots of sex, lots of drugs, lots of alcohol, no substance. And I was kind of like, I'm looking for something a little bit more meaningful,
mm,
which transitioned into restaurants.
yeah,
So opened up a portfolio of great restaurants, expanded way too fast, ended up wheels falling off that bitch. Like had an 8-year run with it, man. The wheels fell off that motherfucker so quick and I was
mm,
still riding it. But the lessons learned from it was for one, scratch the ego, get your processes and systems in place,
mm,
get your mentorships in place. And those are some of the things that weren't in place prior to rapid expansion in the restaurant industry. But it was the best time of my life. Absolutely the best time, the most fulfilling time of my life of what substance meant for me.
yeah,
And then from that, I ended up consulting people who helped people open up restaurants. Shout out to Dr. Khan for opening up Green Space Cafe
yeah,
on Ferndale. That was one of my clients. And then from that, the grand opening, my father, who's my pioneer in the construction industry, came to me and came in the venue and says, "You did this?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You do realize like this is what we do." And I say, "Yeah, I realize it." And he says, "You need to come here. We don't have a hospitality division in the construction company." And I never had a real desire to go into construction, even though we have 4 generations of contractors in our family. It's all the hell we knew.
it's crazy.
But I never really had a desire because I was more of a people person. So yeah, I went to the company. I said, you know what? I'll join. I'd rather join you as a partner than an employee. If we can make that happen, I'd be happy to join the team and spark up a hospitality division. And I spent the last 10 years there. We built up a great hospitality. So we built Motor City Casino back a long time ago. We were the only contractors in the casino for a long time. MGM, did some work at Greektown, lots of F&B spaces downtown. We were a part of a lot of the newness that's happening downtown right
Yeah,
now. Very fulfilling. But I knew there was still something missing, and I just couldn't pinpoint it at the time because my why for being in construction wasn't to be a contractor. It was to get close to my dad.
mm,
That was it. It was to be close to my pops who worked so much when I was young that I didn't get a chance to see much. So I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to get to know my dad
yeah,
and spend time building a business with my dad, a book of business with my pops. And I spent 10 years doing that, man. And just recently, he says, "I'm getting older. I'm tired. I don't want to continue this. What do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And we ran into a couple of hiccups in the business. And I says, "We have an opportunity right now to help our staff find a new home, and I think I'm gonna choose to do something else." I said, "Legacy for me isn't how many buildings we build. Legacy for me is what we instill in each other that we can reinstill into our children." And so for the last decade, me and my pops have been like the best of friends.
Mm.
Like he told me he loved me for the first time during this last 10 years, literally.
Wow.
Like I had to force it out of him, but I got it.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and just recently I said, Pop, love doing this with you. My why was to get next to you.
Mm.
And I think we've done that. So I'm going to sail off. We're going to shut this thing down, keep our partnerships going on. We have some great partnerships.
Yeah.
But for the most part, our main parent company, we're going to shut down and continue. I'm going to continue doing something else. And it's still in hospitality. I'm actually right now in the phase of locating my first piece of property to do a tiny boutique hotel in the rural areas of right now it's either North Carolina or Austin, Texas, hopefully both at some point. But we're doing a proof of concept right now, and it's really cool luxury A-frame cabins in rural areas.
Oh,
We'll
sweet.
prove this concept, and then once it's successful, we'll buy a larger piece of property and put 7 or 10 on there and have a little community of our version of what a little boutique hotel feels like. So it's exciting times, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, very exciting.
How cool is that?
Yeah,
Can you do that remotely?
I can.
You
Yeah,
can.
yeah. You got to put your team together, and
Yeah.
luckily, between party promoting, restaurants, learning how to build them, get people there, feed them,
Mm.
being in the hospitality space, I've learned every aspect of the business. So this is just the journey that I've been waiting to do, and it's the perfect time to do it. It's the 50-year-old gift to myself to go do me.
Yeah, man. I mean, if anyone's gonna make it happen, it's gonna
Yeah,
be you.
it's gonna be a
Like
lot of
all the
fun.
faith in the world, you'll crush it.
Yeah,
And I know that that concept has definitely been proven,
yeah, works
and
well.
there's a lot of need.
Yeah,
People just to have like, I need a change.
they
I need
do.
to change the scenery. I want to be off the grid, right? We're so
Yeah,
connected.
it's me. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm the avatar for the type of
Yeah.
clientele that we're gonna attract, and that's really how it started. It was like, "Oh my god, just day to day and powered on all the time and people, and how do I get the hell out of this?" And then I realized, I was like, "Wow, a lot of people are getting out of this, and
Uh-huh.
this is pretty dope." And I got a chance to stay at a couple and get a chance to know some people who are doing it and doing it very well, and I'm like, "Jackpot, this is exactly what I've been ready to do." So I've been
Amazing.
working on it for about the last year, and now it's here. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I have a question for you because you said a lot of
Mhm.
amazing things that I'd love to touch on, but you said one thing that I really loved was that you look at the lows with pleasure.
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and Peter and other people obviously are saying how positive you are.
Mhm.
Can you be positive in the moment of the low? Because I know for myself, I 100% am grateful for all the bad
Sure.
stuff before,
Mhm.
but in it,
Mm.
I can't necessarily see the light at the end of the
Mhm.
tunnel. Do you? Is that
Yes. And how I got there was plenty of mentorship time. I remember prior to really going into business heavy, one of my buddies, Melfi, told me, he says, "You got to surround yourself around great mentors holistically, create a nice balance beam of great mentors so that when times get challenging,
Mm.
you got people to lean on that can coach you." And I really spent a lot of time like putting a dream team of mentors together that when those moments came, I was able to lean on because 9 times out of 10, they've gone through them. So they
Mm.
could really coach me through like, "Hey man, okay, you did this, you did that. Maybe you should relook at something like this."
Yeah.
Or just to be quite honest, man, just somebody to hug on you for a minute, tell you it's
Yeah.
gonna be okay, or tell you that this is part of the process. So it didn't sting as much. Do I feel it? Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it sucks when you're in it, but it doesn't sting as much when you know you got a bunch of people who are really rooting for you, are like got your back. In the first couple of catastrophes or lows of lows in my early career, for one, I was too egotistical to grab mentors because I figured I could do it all myself. So then when those moments came, in those dark moments, I was by myself.
Mm.
And yeah, and those were bad because you start reaching for other things to try to distract you from this
Pain.
challenge, yeah,
Yeah.
this pain,
Yeah.
and I did, I had a lot of different vices that I tried to, show up for me to make me forget, which made things worse. So, it was, mentorship was, critical
How
Yeah.
for
did
me.
how did you find your mentors? And are they
Yeah.
peers or are they like
Some are peers, and honestly, I took this course, gosh, this might be about 10 years ago, it's called Landmark. And one of the things at Landmark for me was it was an aha moment that I was like, wow, I don't have deep and meaningful and impactful relationships.
Mm.
Like I have friends, got a lot of colleagues. I'm a very popular guy around town, but like I don't, if I was to die tomorrow, who's showing up?
Yeah.
Like who's really showing up
Yeah.
and like is really gonna really give a shit? I think a lot of people would, but like really. And that hit me one day, man. I was like, oh shit, like unless I start sharing and being open and honest and very vulnerable in my approach, then I'm never going to get that in return.
Mm.
So when I realized that moment during that professional development class, I was like, I got to start being like really open and honest and sharing with my friends.
Mm.
And that's how I found my mentors. I just started to really be honest with people. And if they, didn't care or, they weren't at the level of me wanting to, I didn't receive it the right way, hey, I was still going to be me.
Mm.
But when I became very much honest and open and in my approach to talk to people, I started to notice that others started to do the same thing. And then my friendships really started to flourish. So all my mentors are my friends, great friends of mine. We spend lots of quality time. They check on me. They come over. They send stuff to my kid, and or if at the end of the day, they just care. They just care. So it's been
Yeah.
great.
That like perspective shift, right? Like having it does so much. And I think now there's actually data that
Hmm.
identifies the one data point that I'm thinking of is the Harvard happiness study.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
longest longitudinal study. Hundreds, I think there's 800 or so, probably misquoting that. A lot of people have been a
Yeah.
part of this study over years. Tons of different socioeconomic backgrounds. And the through line to actually measuring happiness is not anything that the world would tell you is going to give you fulfillment or
I
happiness.
get that.
The
Yeah.
one constant in all of that is
what? Oh,
human connection.
Yeah.
It's human
Yeah,
connection,
it
and
is.
it's not quantity,
Yeah.
right? Like I've gone through very similar things. It's quality, like having intimate relationships, and if it's for you, if it's 2 or if it's 200, it doesn't matter,
Right.
but having those deep, we're interpersonal beings,
That's
like, we're
right.
relational beings, we want to be connected to others, so finding that earlier in life, I
Yeah.
think, is a huge advantage that many people, sit on their deathbed and like, "Man, I did a lot. The world's gonna say I did a
That's
lot,
right.
but I feel empty."
I feel
And
empty.
so to avoid that at all costs,
Mhm.
on the journey there is really valuable.
It's funny you say that. I keep it in my phone as a reminder, and it had to be maybe 15 years ago. I read an article of successful business people, mostly men, on their deathbed.
Mm.
If you could rewrite the story, what would you say? And most of the answers were, I wish I would have spent more time with my family.
Mhm.
I wish I would have spent more time with my friends. I wish I would have traveled more. None of it was like, I wish I would have made more money.
mhm.
But none of it was like, I wish I would have built 10 more businesses.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me because when you have these powerful mogul business people in front of you and they all say the same thing, it's like, your family's most important. And those are the mentors. Some of those guys are divorced 2 or 3 times that are talking to me and saying, man, PJ, that doesn't matter. What really matters is going home.
Mm.
Forget that the business didn't work for you. Go home and hug on your wife. Go home and hug on your kid. Go take your kid to Coney Island for dinner. Just go do something that's meaningful because your daughter's not gonna give a shit about the iPad that you gave her.
Mm.
She's not gonna care about the little money that you put in her 529 plan. She's gonna care that you spent some time with her and you
Mhm.
taught her something. And those priceless moments and lessons from the mentors, I'm like eternally grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of a living example of that. You said your dad, did a lot.
Mhm.
He was working a ton, and it took you till you were 40
Yeah.
to you were still longing for that connection
Oh,
with him.
man. Yeah.
Um, and I think that, when I first became a dad, someone shared a quote with me like, And everyone says the same thing, right? It goes fast. It goes fast. It goes hyper fast when you're
Right.
living it.
Right.
And you might lose a couple jobs.
Mhm.
You might not get the house you wanted, but
Right.
the only thing that your kid's gonna remember is if you were there.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah. Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's very eye-opening because it is so easy to like, but I'm grinding, I'm
Yeah.
working
For you.
to provide a life for
Right.
you. Like that daily reminder, which I think we all could warrant from a routine, right? To
Yeah.
to take that moment and just think about the stuff that does matter because you get swept into the day.
You do.
So yeah, man, I
That's
mean, that's crazy.
this conversation makes me so uncomfortable. No, I mean, because it's been a recurring conversation that we've been
Yeah.
having about, and
Yeah.
everybody, every parent, every parent that at all stages, they say the same thing, like be with your kids,
Mhm.
spend time with your kids,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here literally just thinking, yeah, but I gotta make money for my
Mhm.
kids, like,
Mm.
and it's this constant battle every single day of I would told my wife over the weekend, like, I wanna spend all my time with you guys,
Mhm.
but I also have a lot of bills I gotta,
Absolutely.
take
Yeah.
care of.
Yeah.
And it's a constant battle. And we've talked before about, I need to work on efficiencies,
Yeah.
to be more efficient at work so that I can make sure I spend time with the kids. And, talking about like, you know, prioritizing family time and date nights and things like that
Mhm.
first and then work around that.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, I kind of need the opposite, but I want that way.
Right. Right.
And it's really hard. And so what I'm sure, I mean, it sounds like, a long time ago when you were, or not a long time ago, but when your
Yeah, a long
daughter
time ago,
Yeah,
man.
right.
You're old.
Oh, man. I'm home over
back in
here.
the 80s and
Back in the
90s.
Yeah.
But no, when you were saying, there was a time where you were running to work more when your
Mhm.
daughter was younger. Um, like what I guess did you learn from that and how is it different today? I mean, you're going to build hopefully a really big business.
Yeah. We'll be busy.
Um,
Mhm.
that's going to take some time. So
Mhm.
what's your plan?
So I think that part of the routine and part of the balance beam I kind of say is I got rid of the distractions and I got rid of the bullshit because if you shake it, you could find a lot of things that you can
Mm.
take off your plate that you could spend a little bit more time with family or spend a little bit more time on the business. So I had to really look at that and be intentional about writing down. In the very beginning, I wrote down every single thing I did all day for like a couple of weeks. And when I looked at it, if you compare what you write down for a couple of weeks against what you want in life, what happened for me is I was like, "Holy shit,
There was
well,
a delta.
there's a
Yeah.
big delta here." And once that put a lot into perspective for me, I was like, "Okay, I'm saying that I want this, but my actions aren't at all aligned with what I'm doing or saying." So once I really realized that part of it, it allowed me to take some things out. It allowed me to say no to a lot of things because in my 20s and 30s, hustling and grinding, I was, "Hey, you want to go open up a garbage picking business? How much we gonna make, man? Yeah, I'm down." And I was doing 50 different things. Now I'm
Was
doing
that a real thing?
right, could be. Is it profitable? And now it's like I'm very intentional into the space that I want to be in. So I don't care how much money you offer me. If it doesn't fit,
Mm.
because I know that my return on time is going to be at the sacrifice of the little guy or my daughter. So it easily allows me to say, I'm not gonna be able to show up for that because I'm building a hotel. I got a lot of time I gotta put into this. So any ounce of time that's left over, it's got to be for
Mm.
like what's super important. Super important. So a lot of practice, you know. All this game in life is just big practice game.
Yeah, and I think you said something that I'll definitely pull away, the objective nature of writing it down.
Oh my God.
Writing it down, like, what
Power.
it's so subjective of like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I was super productive today. I did all these things," like, "But were you?"
Right.
Like, and
Yeah.
you put it down in writing daily, and then you look at the pattern, it's like, "Oh,
I'm
yeah,
not really
maybe I
doing
could
it.
shave some things
Yeah,
off."
you
Yeah.
can. You really
Yeah.
can. And when you really look at it, you can notice a lot of areas where I'm like, I didn't have to do that, or I want to get in shape. But let me look at my credit card bill over the last couple of weeks. I'm like, kind of was at Chick-fil-A a few times. It's not really working. So yeah, I'm Mr. Sticky Note, Mr. Journal, Mr. Write everything down. Thousands of notes in my phone. Always trying to get it out of my head if I don't need it there. Um, yeah, writing down is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I want to circle back to the time you spent with your dad because it's something that I always thought was going to be a part of my life. Like
Mhm.
I'm going to work with my dad. We were working on some stuff right before he died, and
Yeah.
I thought that was going to do that with my life. Um, what a cool opportunity!
Man,
Like
priceless.
amazing.
Yeah.
What was the? Did you learn things about your dad that you didn't know? Was it affirming? Was it eye opening? Like, what was that
Oh,
experience
man,
like?
learned a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
lot that I didn't know about the guy, but my dad's he's a contractor. He's a put a boots on, hard hat, wants to be in the trailer every single day. I'm the opposite. I got on my Adidas. I don't wanna go in the dirty trailer at all. I'm the business guy. So we had a great yin and yang
Yeah.
for the last decade. But man, like he's a soft-spoken guy. He's so, empathetic and sympathetic and how he shows up for people. He'll give his right arm for anybody, not just his children. But man, the fact that my dad has always been a businessman, I said, okay, the only way I'm really gonna get to know this guy is if I go into business with this guy because we don't have a lot in common
Mm.
outside of this. And then from there, man, we took, 10, 12 trips to South America together, man, guys trips. We Vegas together, we're gambling together, man. We sit up, like I told you, I had to force my dad to tell me that he loved me.
Mm.
So for 42 years, I had never heard my dad say he loved me.
Wow.
No, he did, of
Yeah.
course. Great provider, great guy, always there, was at my basketball games, did everything, as far as being in my life. But it was important for me to hear it,
Mm.
and it bothered me. And so one day, I was scared shitless, and I was like, "Today's going to be the day where he's going to tell me that he loves me. Today." And so I call him up and I says, "Hey man, what's happening?" He says, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "What you doing?" He's like, "I'm in the backyard putting the patio furniture out for the pool." I said, "Okay, that's cool, that's cool." I said, "So listen, man, I just want to thank you for being who you are in my life, for all the sacrifices. Now that I'm a parent, I get that all you had to do to be who you were for me, and I get that, man, and I'm so grateful that you did that for me, man." And I was like, and it's just one thing that's been like on my mind, that I just wanted to say to you, man. And he was like, "What's up?" I said, "We've never been this kind of father, son, just talk about like love and affection and stuff like that, man. So, man, I just wanted to say it, man. I love you."
Mm.
And he paused. He says, "Cool."
Like, damn it.
He was like, I said, "All right." I said, "Yeah, that's well. I just wanted to say that. And, I'll talk to you later." So he's all right. Talk to you later. Got on the phone. I was feeling pumped. I was like, "Oh, finally said it. That felt great. I'm going to do this all the time." Then I thought to myself, I called one of my friends. He says, "Well, what did he say back to you?" He said, "Cool." He said, "Well, did he tell you that he loved you back?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Well, bro, you got to call him back." So about an hour later, I call him. I says, "Hey, man, what's going on?" He was like, "What's up?"
Mhm.
I said, that little conversation that we just had a little bit ago?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, man, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I need you to tell me that you love me, okay?" And he died laughing. And he's like, "What's up, man?" I said, "Pop, it just means something to me, man." I said, "I know you do. I'm not doubting that at all. Never have." I said, "But it means something
Mm.
to me. And this is a hard conversation for me. And I'm gravitating to doing things hard, even when they're hard, man. And this is one of them. So I need you to tell me real quick, because I got to go back in this meeting, that you love me." And he was like, "Man, of course I love you, man. Yeah, I love you, man. I'm so proud of you, man. It was the greatest thing ever.
Wow, wow.
And now it's easy,
Mm.
but it was hard."
I mean, that principle applies to so many things, right? Sometimes you just gotta ask,
Yeah, gotta
right?
ask.
Like,
If you're scared, do it
do the
scared.
hard thing, do it scared.
Do it
Yeah.
scared. Yeah, just do it.
Wow.
Otherwise, you're always gonna be scared.
Yeah.
You got a 50% chance of things working out for you if you just do it,
Mm.
So I've learned that in life. Do it scared.
So cool. So you
Mhm.
got it, man. He said, "I love you."
He said,
Now,
"I
does
love
he
you."
say it?
No, not all the time. He says it to my daughter all the time. My daughter gets it. I'm like, that's
She's
like,
only
you
been
didn't
around.
get it? Christ, 21 years old, man. But yeah, he's been great, man. And like I said, man, my why, and I didn't realize that was really my why until
Mm.
like toward the end of the construction game for
Mhm.
us. But it became like because I didn't want to continue the construction side of it. And I was like, okay, this legacy, and you're hearing all this outside, chatter coming in, like, oh, you got to keep it going for 500 years, and your kids have to love it. And I'm just like, okay, but like that wasn't my why.
Yeah.
Like that's not what legacy means to me. So again, had another good hard conversation, but we got through it, and it was great, man. It was great, man. So
That's awesome.
he's my guy. You
Do you
know.
have siblings?
I have an older sister,
Older
9 years
sister.
9 years older, yeah, and she's been living out she's in Texas, and she's been gone since I've been, like, 10, She's like, "I'm out of this cold weather shit now."
Good for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I did wanna say something, and I know I've told you this 100 times, man, and I told my wife today when I was telling her that I was coming down here for this, I got a chance to know your dad, and his dad came to my restaurant one day, and, he was a big shot, like, in the banking world, he was the guy. He treated me like I owned Nobu. He brought me into his office in Troy, and I was at this great view, and we sat for 3 hours, and I probably had 8 grand in the bank, man, at the time, running a business. Couldn't get a line of credit, none of that shit, man, but he treated me
Mm.
like I was somebody, man, and so I will always remember that, man. Always remember that about him, man, so
Yeah,
lucky
that was
man.
thanks for sharing
Yeah.
that. I mean, I love hearing that, and just hearing the stories. The thing that I was fortunate to have a dad that
Yeah.
like live love, right?
Yeah.
Like live love in so many different ways. Told us he loved us a ton. The two things about his death that still stick out to me, we had when we did his funeral, which there were thousands of
I can
people. It
imagine.
was
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
The governor is there and this celebrity and that. Like, I didn't care about any of that
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah.
What I cared about was all the people that no one else paid attention to. The guy that worked the door, the
Mm.
person that worked in his shop, the homeless guy that he gave money to for 20 years that no one knew.
Gosh.
And like he had in all of the stuff going on in his life, he always took time to invest in whoever he was talking to. It was like they were the most important person in the world in that moment.
Yeah.
And so he had a lot of best friends, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people
Right,
were like,
right.
"Oh man, your dad and I were like best friends." I'm like, I've never heard of you before. I have no idea who you are. But it's because he loved people,
Yeah.
which I know you do as well.
Yeah.
It's so much so that at his funeral, the guy he was doing some music and he got to know my dad well and said to everyone in the room, "If you were to describe Mike with one word, what would it be?" And it was like resounding. Everyone same time said love.
Love. Oh, yeah, I was just gonna
And it
say
was
it,
like, boom, it's like,
yeah. Right.
if I could be remembered like that,
Yeah.
it was like, whoa,
Right.
that's super powerful.
Dropped mic moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was wild, but that's super cool. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen you do it with intention.
Yeah.
Try to put that into people and put that out into the universe and share it with people.
Yeah.
So, because it is, man, it's so fast.
It
And
is, man, and people, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who walk around feeling invisible, and that just doesn't ride well with me, because we move so fast, we miss a lot, and so I take pride, and make it a point, man, to really just slow it down long enough to recognize people and
mm,
to, you have this thing, you're passing somebody, "Hey, how you doing?" Before you even hear the response, either you're gone. It's like, "No, man, how you doing? Look me in the face. What's going on?" I bought a young lady, coffee. I think I was at the roasting plant a while ago, and homeless lady, and she was just I remember her look walking in the door that she was just looking for eye contact,
mm,
and nobody was just giving her eye contact. And so I stopped and I was like, "Hey, honey," I was like, "How you doing?" She was like, "Can I get a cup of coffee?" It's a couple of bucks, man.
right.
I'm like, "Absolutely, come with me." She was like, "They won't let me in here." I was like, "They're absolutely gonna let you in here. Come with me." And we bought a cup of coffee. Her name was Stephanie, and we sat and
Mm,
talked, and I had a meeting to get to that I didn't give a shit about because I just didn't like the fact that she felt invisible, man.
yeah.
Meeting can wait, that's not important. This was important to me, to me.
Mm,
So that's just how I run my life.
Does it
yeah.
does it ever like hurt you or get to you? And I maybe I'm not doing it for the right ways, and that's why. But like I I try to wave at people all the time.
Mhm.
When I'm driving, I always, like, hold the door for people. I'm always, like, trying to be a positive person out in the world. Like,
Mhm.
I do work at it. Um, but then I get, like, upset when people don't wave back,
You're like, "Fucking
or they
asshole."
don't say anything when I hold the door open, and I'm
Right.
like, "Really? Can't even
Yeah.
acknowledge my presence
Right,
here?"
right.
And, like, I don't know. When that happens, I'm like, "Am I a good person?" Like, or am I just looking for acknowledgement or something?
Right.
But I truly, it's like, I'm constant, like, and some days, I don't know, if I start my day right, I am, like, out of a movie,
Mhm.
like, floating montage, like, I'm grocery shopping, like,
I'm feeling myself, right? I'm in my
singing
bag.
and, like, waving at people, literally dancing in the
Yeah.
aisles, and but then all it takes is, like, somebody not waving back, and I'm like, "Oh, screw
Shit on your
this."
day.
Yeah, like, humanity sucks, I'll just be selfish
Right.
or something, like, it can change like that
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah.
and so I think I need people like your dad around, and I need people like
Yeah,
you
man.
around and you around to, like, keep me on the right path
Right.
because I can quickly, like,
Yeah, we got no
switch.
idea. Sometimes, I mean, I get that. I totally get that, Well, sometimes I'm like, I got a bag of pennies at throw them out this window at you. But no, it's just I think when those moments come for me, and I think they come for everybody who's trying to just show up as a great person, as their best selves. Um, I got no idea what they're dealing with. I think that puts it in perspective for me as like I got no idea how they woke up or what they're dealing with and
Mm,
why they're at this. And I even say it in my daily prayers. I was like, I pray for the uninformed and the misguided, because if they knew better, they do better.
mm,
So if I could show up for somebody to give you a smile or show you that it's gonna be all right, and then you might say, "Go fuck yourself," and that's okay because that still doesn't affect who I am,
yeah.
how I show up. But yeah, it's just so much going on in this world, man. We just got no clue what people are really dealing with, man. So we gotta
Yeah.
have some grace.
It will go a long way. I think the not expecting, we're in a culture, our society, the world is so quid pro quo, right? Like, well, I
Yeah,
did this thing for you and I expect something in return. We've been inherently like bred that that's the way that life
right.
operates. Like, why?
Yeah, yeah,
Just because you showed up doesn't mean you should expect someone else
that's
to.
right.
And I think, the ability to have that perspective, if you can do it daily.
It's tough.
But you mentioned the vulnerability thing,
Yeah.
and, like, that's been the superpower to connect with people, and I see it every single time. As soon as you start to be a little honest about your own pain, depression, struggles, this thing, wife, kid, all this stuff, right?
Yeah,
Because we all have this stuff. It's like the veils dropped immediately. It's
totally.
like, "Oh, man, yeah, I'm going through the same stuff
Right.
because we all are." Yeah.
Everybody. I was doing was that some event I was at. It was a marketing event, and this business development director, he was this guy, and man, I just felt like he had his shit together. And I'm watching him, I'm like, "That's what I wanna be." That guy, I mean, he's got it together. And I remember going up after,
Mm,
talking to him, I'm like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I get your number, man? I really like how you just, like, ran this meeting." Kinda came in, he was a little flamboyant, he had his own little style. I'm like, "I like you, man." And I called him up and I was like, "I just want some pointers on, like, how to be, like, on it like you are, man." And he laughed. He was like, "What?" He was like, "I'm such a fucking train wreck, man. I got nothing figured out, man. Thanks for saying that with me, but dude, I don't know what's going on this afternoon." And so right there, I was like, none of us know what the hell we're doing. We're just in this, hey, man, show up and jump. Parachute might not come out.
yeah,
A lot of times it won't.
yeah.
Get scuffed up, the wounds heal.
Yeah, it is interesting. I feel like, yeah, I'm probably similar to that guy, right?
Yeah.
There's the perception of a lot of people like, "Oh, you go in the room, you're extroverted, you're charismatic, you can
Nobody
connect," and,
thinks you have your
like,
shit together.
it's just and I'm like, but when you hear it enough from
Yeah.
others and that's their perspective of you, then the lows become even lower. He's like,
Oh, for
"Oh, I'm
sure.
not performing at the level that everyone thinks I should be performing at."
Right. You're
It's
absolutely
I've
right.
had to, like, overcome that as
Yeah.
I've gotten older, is like, "You know what? It doesn't." fuck what they think.
Exactly,
It doesn't
man.
matter.
It does
It
not
doesn't
matter.
matter.
That's
It
why
really
I
does
try
not.
to have a low standard.
Overachiever, right?
Yeah, now it's like, whoa, he's a lot nicer than I thought. He's funnier than
Right.
like. But no, what you guys were just talking about reminded me. My wife and I went out to dinner with another couple, and we're telling them, or they're asking a lot of questions, and we're telling them about our family histories and our past. And I've got a storied past, and to me, my family tree is kind of fucked up, and my wife thinks the same thing. And so we're telling them all this stuff, or they're asking all these questions, and we go home and we both look at each other and we're like, they must think we are so crazy and our lives are just insane and our families are crazy. And months later, I go out to dinner with the other couple. My wife wasn't there, and they're now telling me their stories.
Mhm.
And I'm like, guys, you're just as fucking.
You're just fucked up, right?
No, but I'm like, wow. I told them the story. I said we went home and we were like, we thought you thought that we just had the craziest
Right.
thing, and they're like, no, not at all. We
Right.
thought you were just absolutely normal.
That's
Like,
right.
and that's the thing. It's like we all are fucked up.
Yeah.
We all have
Mm.
issues. We all have family drama. We all have our storied past. We all have had heartbreaks. We've all had everything.
Yeah.
And I think once you can realize that, and I guess like you said, like just realize like you don't know what somebody else is
That's right.
going through.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to think so much about what other people think. And I mean, it's easier said than done, but
Yeah.
having those reminders all the time, to me, I need it. Like I need people like you. I need conversations like you. When you guys were talking about uh like finding those close people to you. I used to say to people that to find out if a girl loves you, or any significant other loves you, think about, would she wipe your ass if you were like on your deathbed?
Mhm.
That was my test. I mean, I didn't actually have anybody do it, but to me, that was like the bar.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's willing to do that for you, they love you.
That's right.
But when you guys were talking about like friends and mentors and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if any of my friends would wipe my ass.
Exercise for you tonight. Go home and call one of your buddies.
I'm really not feeling good, Peter.
That might be like a hire it done. I can find someone to wipe your
Hey,
ass. Like I
dude.
don't have to do it.
You don't have to do right.
But that's kind of the thing. It's like I when talking about that, those close people, I was like so jealous hearing you talk about that, because I feel like I don't have as many people that are that close.
Mhm.
Like if I was crying about something, I don't have that many people I would feel comfortable calling and like bearing my soul.
Mhm.
I could talk to people. I
Right.
mean, we can get deep. Like Peter and I have some deep conversations and stuff. But like I'd probably like just go be alone somewhere.
Mhm.
And I strive to have those people that I can call and just say like, man, I am going through it. I need help. I think asking for help is like really hard,
Right.
at least for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've been there
And
for sure. Yeah. It's
like,
tough.
I need to like find people like
And
that.
they may
Like,
be there. They may be
yeah,
there, but I think getting over the uncomfortability of being uncomfortable, getting over that part of it, you'll be surprised as to like the responses that you get when you do make that phone call. Because they're there. It's just that you got to make the first step to it. And it is easier said than done. Trust me. Again, I don't have shit figured out. Trust me, I made a life of fuck what they think, and it was therapy for me.
Yeah.
It just happened to grow into something, but it was really therapy for me, and it wasn't a lot of they, to be honest, fuck what they think. It was really my own personal demon
Mm.
inside of my own head telling me what I couldn't do,
Mm.
and I was writing for myself. I was like, I'm either gonna be like therapy or forever or like write this book or try to come out with this thing and the fuck what they think kind of caught on, but it came from my own therapy.
Yeah.
Be telling myself what I can't do.
Well, it's I think we've talked about on the show before, like comparison is the thief of joy,
Right?
like, right? Like
Yeah.
as soon as you started doing the what you were going through with your friends, you were assuming they have their stuff figured out, right? You're always, and in today's world, based on the thing that we
Oh
hold
yeah.
in front of our face all day long,
Right.
you're comparing, you're just forced into comparing,
Yeah.
and that world that you're comparing against is not rooted in reality.
No.
Uh,
No, it's
and
not
the
at all,
only way
right?
you like get that perspective shift is by being vulnerable,
Yeah.
having those, doing the things that are uncomfortable,
Yeah.
asking people for help, asking people like, I don't know what I need. I just need like, can we just hang out?
Yeah.
Like, I just need a person.
Right. Looking
Being
for a
able to do
friend.
that is, it's not easy,
No.
but in the moments when I've done that personally, it's like,
It's
oh
magical.
man, that's all I
It's
needed.
fucking magical.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's when people feel safe to then tell you,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
I don't feel safe telling strangers or even, a lot of my friends, like the real
Right.
stuff that's going on, right? Like, but if they were going through it, I might just to make them not feel alone,
Mm-hmm.
tell them some of my
That's
truth.
right.
Like I know I'm and a recovering addict alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember in my first year of being sober, I and they tell you to call somebody if you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about doing something.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but I just happened to call a buddy of mine that was also going through the same thing I was going through, and I I told him like I'm having the worst day. This bad thing happened to me, and this happened to me, and like I'm thinking about having a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, hang on, let me tell you something. Like I just relapsed on heroin
Mm.
yesterday."
Wow.
And
Wow.
I was like, "Okay, we're gonna go. I'm gonna pick you up,
Yeah.
and we're gonna go get some help." And
Hmm.
it got me out of myself
Yeah.
like that. The
Right.
second he told me his thing, I just ran to go help
That's right.
at
Yeah.
that point. I'm out of myself now.
Yeah.
And I think that's as soon as, like you said, like you never know. Maybe there are people like
Mm-hmm.
that you have to just make the move. And it's kind of like, I'm sure there's friends of mine who probably don't think that I would be the one to
Mm-hmm.
cry to or that I would wipe their ass or whatever.
Right.
And to me it's like offensive. Like, "Oh, how dare you? How didn't you
Right.
know that I would have been there?" But I'm not going to them. So
Right. Right.
they don't know that I'm a safe place,
That's
right?
right.
And yeah, it's a vicious cycle of people just being scared to let their guard
Yeah.
That's it.
down.
That's
And
all it is. Yeah. It's really what it
so
is.
Yeah. I mean, like fear is probably at the root of a lot of the challenges that we're navigating through life, right? Fear of whatever, fear of rejection, fear
Yeah.
of failure, fear of, losing a job, it's like constant. It's fear really at the root of a lot of that.
Oh, it is real. I have as we talk like journals and things like that. I have a journal called the Fear Journal. It's
Mm.
called Fuck Fear, and it's dark. It's really dark.
did you bring it?
I did. I usually travel with it too. It might be my car. Um, but what I noticed from my fear journal, and I write in it every single day before the gratitude journal by design, because it's almost impossible to be pissed off or in a bad mood when you're writing in gratitude. So I start my day with the fear journal.
Mm.
And a fear journal is just that you're writing about whatever you're scared about, whatever you're scared about. And I'll just share here. It's not funny now, good that it didn't happen. But I remember before my wife had Jackson, the whole time during her pregnancy, I'm like, what if she dies?
Mm.
What if she dies on the table? This is her first major, it was a C-section. What, oh my God. I went down this rabbit hole
Mm.
of, oh my God, how am I going to be able to feed the kid? What am I going to be able to feed the kid?
Yeah.
How am I going to be happy with the new baby and sad that mom's gone? I went down this rabbit hole of this fear that I was facing every single morning. And then we had a healthy baby boy.
Yeah.
My wife healed up. She was walking stairs in 2 days of us getting
Wow.
home. She's home, happy, healthy. She did not pass away on the table. And then I remember looking back
Mm.
at my fear journal, and this is the point of the fear journal. And you might want to pick this up because what you'll notice is that you'll eliminate and de depower. We'll take the power away from fear
Mm.
when you start to look back at your journal and realize none of that shit happened.
Mm.
So if you do it every single day, and I do it every single day, and I write about dark shit, and I open it up a month later, now as I start to go forward and fear comes up because I'm human, a lot of stuff comes up that I'm scared about, but the power of it disappears. It starts to diminish a little bit because I've gotten in the habit of saying, well, that didn't happen. Well, shit, these 17 pages of what I feared 3 months ago, none of it happened.
Mm.
And yeah, every once in a while, it may happen, but one out of every 10 might happen. And if you get in the habit of realizing like, wow, this fear is not as powerful as it takes on to be, if I just become intentional, that's my word today. If I become intentional of realizing that fear has no power and I've got proof. So my fear journal is how we start the day.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think we're, human nature, it's our like you have to fight that, right? Because that's our
Oh my God.
survival, like
Yes.
from how our chemistry
Yeah.
is your body is telling you anything that's uncomfortable
Yep.
or it could potentially cause harm, emotional, physical harm, like you go into fight mode,
That's
right?
right.
You want to avoid that. So being intentional with like how do you press through that?
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad, he was my call, right? I get some news or think I got, you know, my high school girlfriend pregnant or I was gonna do a fail
Yeah.
attempt, whatever, you name it. For
Yeah.
life, he was my call. And the and he'd listen and let me, go on my drive of what was freaking me out.
Right.
And he'd always respond with one question. It was like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Let's play out the scenario. Okay. So that's gonna happen, or you might lose your job, or you might whatever. So let's play it out. Okay, so then this happens. Could you work around that? What's the next step? Yeah, okay. And then you play it back and you're like, it's actually
It's
not
not
that
that
bad.
bad,
I
right?
can overcome that.
Yeah.
And it's never that bad.
It's
But
never
your
that bad.
body is just telling you, like, oh my God, my
Yeah.
life is gonna be
That's
over.
right. How many times we
Um,
had that moment? You're
oh
like,
my God. Yeah. So I know we gotta wrap it up.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're
I feel like we gotta bring you back on because
Oh
this
man,
is
this is
we.
great.
I feel like we could go on for hours.
I know.
This is a great setting, man. I appreciate this.
So for
man.
our listeners, when you are listening to this, we're about to enter into a new year.
Yeah.
I'm not a resolution guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're all in phases in our life where it's like, I got a lot of shit I want to
Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
over the next year. So it doesn't have to be a resolution, but is there anything that you're thinking about for this next year? I know the business, that, but like
Yeah.
one thing.
Oh, that's a good question, man. And I'm not a resolution guy either. I'm usually one that's like, okay, I'm thinking about it. I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that if anything, I think it's to continue on a great, healthy mindset.
Mm.
Really be upfront and honest with where I am mentally, so I can consistently work on it. So I think that being healthy, I think that's the key to success. Because if you're not healthy, you can't enjoy anything. So just continue the journey of mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional health. Um, Starting now, going into the new year, and how I show up for that is how I show up for everything.
Love it.
Me, honestly, I want to keep growing. I mean, I've got huge business goals for the year that are scaring me and exciting me at
Yeah.
the same time. I scaring me with my family and not exciting me as much, but I'm excited to hopefully accomplish everything while still being present
Mm-hmm.
and being around for them. But I do think, and this conversation is kind of an eye opener for that, is I think I need more mentors
Mm-hmm.
in my life, even though I probably have them and I just need to use them more.
Just gotta activate them.
Yeah,
I,
just
I
ask
need
'em.
to activate them,
Yeah.
get them. Yeah. What is it like? Like they're secret agents, and I need to
Right.
say the code.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm ready for you. Because I think in order for me to do what I need to do this year and what I want to do, I need to continue to grow and I need people to like
Yeah.
constantly be reminding me, any coaches and mentors to constantly remind me of what I need to do to stay on track with both family and personal development and work. So you guys are going to be my calls. Thanks.
That's it, man. Got it.
Amen.
What about you, Peter?
Similar, there's lots of, I want to grow in my marriage. I want to grow in business, take more risks. But those are just kind of life. I think the things that I'm hanging on to that I would love some resolution to this year, if I can make it a priority, is old wounds in their personal relationships that, there's nothing bad, but there's like, I probably haven't said everything I want to say. I haven't fully gotten that closure, like true closure, and just move past some stuff. Things that creep into my mind a lot, like I should reach out and do that, and I don't. I find a million excuses not to do that, not to make the tough call. But I've been hanging on to some of that stuff for years, and it's like I should really do that.
Right.
Tomorrow's not a given, so that's probably a goal for the year, for sure.
I'm here right now if you need to tell me.
We're good. We're good. Well, thank you for coming on, PJ.
This
man.
is great, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
It was so fun.
Yeah,
And
this is
enjoy
great fun.
all the tough nights and all the
The party's
Happy
tonight at
for you.
3.
Yeah. The after party.
The after
What's
party.
crazy is like I'm in we're all in the thick of like hell at times.
Yeah.
But when like, whoever's behind you, I'm not like thinking about the negative. Like for you, I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is so exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I upset about things that are happening right now when I'm telling you that it's exciting?
Right,
Like you should be excited. It's like, no, I'm telling myself
That's it.
that like get grateful because it is exciting. Yeah.
We end up
So,
talking to ourselves a lot.
yeah,
Talking to
yeah.
ourselves, we're talking out loud.
Well, I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah.
Midlife the podcast.
Thank you. Perfect time.
I'm
man.
excited for part 2.
Yeah.
In the
anytime.
future, you got to
let's
come
do it,
back because
please.
this.
We
was
could
too
do it
good.
in one of your villas.
That would be
house
awesome.
property.
A-frame.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. man.
Offsite.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Let's make that happen.
Sweet.
Thanks,
All right,
man.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.